Imagine this. Your pregnant wife is screaming in pain. You call 911, the ambulance is on the way, but then your neighbor blocks your driveway with his truck. Not by accident, on purpose. He folds his arms, smirks, and says, "Maybe this will finally teach you a lesson about respecting property lines." That day, his obsession with rules nearly cost 2 innocent lives. And what happened next? Let's just say the lesson he wanted to teach came back to destroy his entire life. For 3 years, my wife and I lived peacefully in our quiet suburban neighborhood. Then came Bob, the new neighbor, retired, bored, and obsessed with property rules. He complained about our trash bins being 6 inches too far. He measured our grass with a ruler. He even sent certified letters accusing us of trespassing because our car mirror extended 1 inch across the property line. It was harassment every single day. Cones on the driveway, fake HOA letters, threats of calling the city. At first I ignored him. I thought, he's just a cranky old man. Best to stay away. But I had no idea how far he was willing to go. Then came the morning that changed everything. At 6:30 a.m., my wife woke me up in unbearable pain. She was 5 months pregnant and barely able to breathe. Terrified, I dialed 911 immediately. The dispatcher told me an ambulance was just minutes away. I helped her to the door, ready to rush her to the hospital myself if needed. And that's when I saw it. Bob's massive truck, parked sideways across our entire driveway. Both of our cars trapped inside. I shouted, begging him to move. My wife was collapsing against the doorway, crying in agony. And Bob just stared at me from his porch and said, "Actions have consequences." I was screaming, begging. I even told him, she could die. And he shrugged. "Not my problem. Maybe call a tow truck." The ambulance sirens grew louder, but they couldn't even reach us. They had to stop at the end of the street. Paramedics ran down with equipment, but every second felt like hours. When they reached my wife, her blood pressure was dangerously low. The doctors later told me, if she had reached the hospital even 10 minutes later, we could have lost both her and our baby. And all the while, Bob stood there, arms crossed, enjoying the chaos. The police arrived. They saw my wife being carried down the street because the stretcher couldn't fit past Bob's truck. They saw him smirking, bragging about property rights. That was the moment everything changed. Bob thought he was teaching me a lesson, but the lesson was about to come for him. Because what started as a driveway dispute turned into criminal charges, lawsuits, and the collapse of his entire life. He thought he was untouchable. He thought blocking an ambulance was just teaching a lesson. But when the truth came out in court, his own words, his own arrogance, Bob's entire life collapsed in front of him. This is the story of how one man's obsession with property lines sent him straight to prison. After my wife and baby were stabilized, I followed everyone's advice and hired a lawyer. She was shocked when I told her what happened. Her words were, "This is one of the clearest cases of reckless endangerment I've ever seen." We filed a massive lawsuit against Bob, covering medical bills, lost wages, emotional trauma, and punitive damages. But that was only the beginning. The district attorney decided Bob's actions weren't just civil, they were criminal. The courtroom was packed. The prosecutor played the 911 call. My voice panicked, begging for help. Then came the part where Bob's voice could be heard saying, "Not my problem. He needed to learn a lesson." The entire courtroom went silent. Paramedics testified. Those lost minutes could have killed both mother and child. My wife testified, her voice breaking as she described feeling like she was dying while Bob just watched. And finally, Bob himself took the stand. Instead of defending himself, he ranted about rules, and property rights. When asked directly, "So you blocked the driveway while knowing a pregnant woman was in medical distress?" Bob answered, "Yes. Actions have consequences. The jury didn't even need a full day. Guilty." The judge's words were brutal. Your complete lack of remorse, your willingness to risk lives over imaginary property violations represents a profound disregard for human life. Bob was sentenced to 4 years in prison. But that wasn't all. Investigations revealed he had filed 150 plus false complaints against neighbors, faked HOA letters, and even pretended to be an HOA official. The HOA sued him. Code enforcement pressed charges. And because he spent all his money fighting the case, his house went into foreclosure. Raw. The same driveway he once guarded with his life? Gone. Sold at auction. Bob wanted everyone to follow the rules. But in the end, the very rules he tried to weaponize destroyed him. He demanded consequences and got them. Prison, financial ruin, total disgrace. Meanwhile, my wife and baby are safe. We even received a settlement large enough to cover her recovery and our child's future. And the new family that bought Bob's house? They're kind, normal neighbors. They looked at the property line and said, "Looks fine to us." The nightmare was over. So what do you think? Did Bob deserve even more punishment? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible true stories like this one.